It was late September when I decided to drive cross-country. I needed space, just me, the road, and some time to get my head straight after a brutal breakup. Somewhere in rural Oregon, way off the beaten path, I saw her. She was standing at the edge of the road, barely lit by my headlights. Young, pale, and wearing this old-fashioned blue dress, like something out of a 1940s photo. I don't normally stop for hitchhikers, but she didn't look dangerous. Honestly, she looked desperate. So I pulled over. She climbed in without hesitation and whispered, "Thank you?" Her voice was soft, almost too soft. She told me she was headed to a town I'd never heard of. I typed it into my GPS. It didn't exist. Still, I figured it was just too small to show up. She barely spoke during the drive. Just sat there, eyes fixed ahead, hands folded in her lap like a kid in church. When I asked her anything, where she was from, what she was doing out there, she'd answer in clipped sentences, almost robotic. Then the radio turned to static, and the car got freezing cold. I mean icebox cold. She finally said, "Slow down. We're almost there." Her voice was calm, but it made the hairs on my neck stand up. I pulled onto this narrow dirt road surrounded by trees. At the end of it was a crumbling, moss-covered house. Before I could ask if this was the place, she turned to me and whispered, "You shouldn't have come here. He doesn't like strangers." I turned to look at the house, and I swear to God, someone was standing in the window. Tall still, watching us. I turned back to her, and she was gone. Door closed. No sound. No footsteps. Just gone. I floored it out of there and didn't stop until I hit the interstate. The next day, I tried to find that dirt road again. It wasn't there. Not on the GPS, not in person, just more forest. And to this day, I still have nightmares about that window, and whatever was standing in it. It was 1997. My buddy Marcus and I were driving back from a college party, a few hours outside of Chicago. We were half drunk on soda and junk food, just talking about stupid stuff, when we saw a guy on the side of the road, thumb out, holding a duffel bag. He looked rough, like he'd been on the road for a while. Long coat, boots, beard. Not threatening, just tired. We weren't planning to pick anyone up, but Marcus slowed down anyway. The guy got in the back seat and said his name was Tom. Said he was trying to get to St. Louis. At first, the conversation was normal. Then, out of nowhere, Tom leaned forward and asked, "Do you guys believe in ghosts?" We laughed, thinking he was joking. I said something like, "Only after a few drinks." He just smiled and stared out the window. Didn't say much after that. After about half an hour, Tom asked to be dropped off on this narrow, wooded road. It didn't look like a road at all, honestly, just trees and dirt. Marcus stopped, and Tom got out slowly. Then he turned and said something weird. He said, "Don't look behind you. Just drive." Naturally, I looked in the rearview mirror. Behind the car, standing in the dark, was someone. Or something. Thin. Still. Just standing there, not moving. Watching us. I whipped around to say something to Tom, but the back seat was empty. No door slam. No sound. Just gone. Marcus and I lost it. We tore out of there like bats out of hell. The next day, we checked the duffel bag Tom had left behind. Inside were old newspapers and a wallet with an ID that said Thomas J. Greer. The ID had expired in 1975. One of the newspapers had a headline. "Local man killed hitchhiking on Route 14. The photo? It was him. Tom. We never talked about it again. This happened a couple years ago when my sister and I were driving through West Virginia on a road trip. We'd taken some backroads to avoid highway construction, and it started raining hard around midnight. That's when we saw this kid, maybe 15 or 16, walking alone on the side of the road, soaked to the bone. He looked scared and cold. We pulled over, and I rolled down the window. He said his name was Eli, and he'd gotten separated from his friends while hiking. We let him in, turned the heat up, and gave him a towel from the back seat. He said he just needed a ride to a nearby trailhead where he thought his friends might still be. He was polite, but something about him was off. His clothes were muddy but weirdly clean, like someone had rubbed dirt on them, not actually worn them in the woods. And he kept glancing in the rearview mirror, not looking at us, but at the back seat. Over and over. After about 20 minutes, he pointed to a narrow dirt path and said, "Turn here." I slowed down but didn't turn. It didn't look like a road, just mud and trees. I asked if he was sure, and he said, "They're waiting for me. They get angry if I'm late." That's when the hair on the back of my neck stood up. My sister whispered, "Don't go down there." And I didn't. I floored it and got back on the main road. We drove until we hit a gas station. When we stopped, I looked in the back seat. Eli was gone. The weirdest part? There was a small, muddy handprint on the inside of the rear window. It started to slide slowly down, like someone had just pressed their hand there, and vanished. We never saw him again. And I don't think he was ever meant to leave that road. Thank you for watching. See you next time.